say that I am for the return of the guillotine, and that is for the worst of the guilty.
You're singing to the choir on this show. We've been advocating the guillotine for years now.
Oh, well, fantastic. We think alike in many ways. I first would allow the guilty bankers to pay, the ability to pay back anything over $100 million personal wealth, because I believe in a maximum wage of $100 million. And if they're unable to live on that amount, then they should, go to the re-education camps, and if that doesn't help, then be beheaded.
Now, we just recently saw the guillotine rolled out in a huge protest in Israel. 500,000 people in the streets. Basically, they are part of this global, what some call, or I call, the global insurrection against banker occupation. Has there been any communication between, let's say, the Tel Aviv, Wall Street, Athens, Cairo, Tunis? This is a global uprising. Do you see any of that global communication happening vis-a-vis Twitter and other sites, or just in any way?
Yeah, Max, I agree with you. We just can't get enough Billy Idol. By the way, a little bird who's, well, I guess the progeny of Billy Idol says, Daddy's a fan. We like Billy to come on the show because Alex is a fan, and so is Max. But side issue, Kaiser continuing here. Come on. You know that the neocons are going to use that now. Her talking about re-education camps and stuff. I mean, this is one of the biggest news stories in the country right now.
Right. Well, I break it down into two parts. The guillotine part is, as I said, you're singing to the choir. Now, when somebody like Hank Paulson or when Tim Geithner comes to Europe, as he did last week, and said, you need to load a bazooka with 3 trillion euros to fire at your banks, we have to be able to say, well, we've got a guillotine waiting for you. In other words, that's our only recourse. Historically, that's what we have. I mean, hopefully we don't have to use it, but it would be stupid to say that we're not going to use it or we don't have him to use, because historically that's what happens when the bankers take over and they confiscate all the people's wealth. The people say, you know what? I don't think we need any more bankers.
I got it. And then they try to sick communism on us while the bankers sit offshore laughing and make a deal like communist China for the new totally enslaved people. And we've got...
and then you get to the re-education camp part. I mean, it's a scary thought. I think Roseanne is, I'm going to want to put words into her mouth. You're going to talk to her directly, but it's a scary thing to say, and I think that was meant to be a scary thing to say. But I tell you what's really scary for bankers is when they see somebody rip up a dollar bill or a euro or some fiat money. It's like showing a crucifix to Dracula.
Yeah, let's get into that. So you're saying target the symbol of their fiat slave system, and this will start getting news. If there's just torn up dollar bills everywhere, people will start saying, what is this? You could call it in as a news tip and say, there's a bunch of torn up $1 bills out here. What is it? Then they'll that's a good stunt.
It's totally anonymous. You rip up $3 or $4 bills, you create lots of confetti, and you let the wind blow it around the street, blow it around your neighborhood. People see all this money blowing in the wind. And it's because, first of all, when bankers see that, it scares the hell out of them. Because if somebody's willing to rip up a dollar, it means they have lost their power over you. That's the chain that keeps you enslaved, is that paper dollar. If you rip that dollar, you're free. And this is what scares bankers like nothing else. You won't believe the outrage that will happen if they start to see torn up dollar bill confetti and euro confetti and yen confetti all over the world from people who said, I've had it with this nonsense. And this is a
while you're at it, you can stamp Infowars.com on it. That'll really enrage them. Now, expanding on this, Max, what about my idea to go directly to the Federal Reserve banks and the same central banks in Europe, same people own them, as you know, and actually protest them, and I'm going to be visiting them. I'm asking folks to occupy, to stay there on the street, to set up tents, to move in either on the property or nearby it. And I think the Federal Reserve is going to kiss your hind end, because when I've been there, they're totally scared, and they don't try to push us around, except for the case of Aaron and them up at the Kansas City one. Then there were only 2 people, because they don't want to have arrests to give it attention. They want it to stay very, very quiet. There's a bunch of hippies running around calling for the second coming of Mao, Zedong, and Stalin, and everybody mixed together. Then they're happy to give it attention. But when we're actually protesting the King Daddy, they get scared. What do you think of that?
Well, you're at the tip of the spear, as you like to say. Now, Wall Street is not the tip of the spear. The Federal Reserve Bank is. We've got Occupy Wall Street has gone global. and that is going to lead toward Occupy the Federal Reserve. So it makes sense that you would take it to the next level. You go to the Reserve Bank, and now you've got your part with this global movement of hundreds of thousands of people around the world.
So I see your thing. You're saying don't get in a fight with it. Don't let Soros and people co-opt it. We just take over with the truth in the Fed. We take over Occupy Wall Street, and that would be
You can't lose because you're going into the heart of the Death Star, so you can't lose. You're on the right path.
Stay there, stay there. Webster Tarpley, who last Wednesday on my show, I already knew this, but I was hoping it wouldn't get totally co-opted. Now Obama has said they're fully co-opting it, moveon.org. They're going to try to come in and take it over. Tarpley's going to pop in a minute. But the good news is I've got reporters in San Antonio. I've got reporters in New York right now, Rob Jacobson. I got reporters in Austin. They say it's people that really know that Wall Street's corrupt and getting our tax money. So the good news is, Max Kaiser, before we go to Tarpley, is that the system's trying to co-opt this, and it's not working, in my opinion.
No, the system's it's failing because the misery is so high. The austerity is kicking in, the economy is crashing, and people are just realizing that there's no point in hoping for something better to come along. They have to act now. You know, you're not too far from the Dallas Federal Reserve Bank. It's one of the biggest Federal Reserve banks. You know, you could get enough people to create a circle entirely around the Dallas Federal Reserve Bank and say, the head of this bank, come out with your hands up.
You know, that's a great idea. We're going to be up there. I can get up there by 5:30 or 6. I'm going to leave here at 1 so I can be there easily by 5. We're going to officially say it kicks off at 6 to dark, which is about 7:30 or so, Friday night. Then I'm going to drive down to Houston, high noon, then to San Antonio, 10 a.m. to noon the next day. But I'm asking people, and we're about to get a press release out today. Aaron Dykes is in there writing it. I'm asking people to, do it whenever you want, or if it's 5 of you or 100 of you. Get your groups together. Get your In the Fed, the Ron Paul Campaign for Liberty. Let's go. Don't let them just blame capitalism and anybody that's on the stock market as some enemy that's got to, go to the re-education camp. Let's actually go after the banksters here.
Yeah, remember Waco, man. This is when all this got started. The U.S. attacked its own citizens. Now they're popping their own citizens overseas, assassinating them without any due process. So the Civil War, what started in Waco is now outright civil war. The Dallas Fed just circle the entire institution with a human chain and don't break the circle and just stay there until the head comes out with his hands up. You're under arrest.
Well, Max, let's have you choose the location. And this can be done by others, other parts of the country. I'll get behind it. I'll promote it. If people get us the information, this isn't, get orders from headquarters. It's go to the sound of the info guns, as Paul Revere would say. But I think, again, I'm going to be showing up and speaking at Fed locations and promoting it. And if it gets big enough down the road, I would come and maybe stay for a week or so and do my broadcast there, because we've got to identify them as the real threat. They're hoping we're just going to show up for a few hours, leave. But if we stay there and occupy, should it be the Dallas Fed? Should it be the Houston Fed or the San Antonio Fed? I mean, I'm kind of thinking we got a big activist group in San Antonio, but we've got a lot of listeners in Dallas as well. We've got like 3 affiliates in that general area of Northeast Texas, several affiliates right there in DFW, the Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex. I'm thinking, why not go ahead and just call for people from Friday night through the next Friday to occupy the area around the Dallas Federal Reserve and really bring real attention on these people, Max?
Well, why don't you put it to Twitter and ask, whenever you get the biggest response, do that. And I'm all about to make it as easy as possible, because I just want to win. So you put it on Twitter, you say, here's the 3 locations, see what the Twitter people are willing to do. Whatever the biggest response is, do that.
By the way, I'm going to have Kurt Nemos out today, but I think Aaron knows how to put up an InfoWars poll. We could ask Dallas, San Antonio, or Houston. And again, I would say New York, but we had listeners, and we promoted it, who had demonstrations. One time the guy just put it out on his Twitter, nobody showed up, and they had like 50-something cops ringing the Federal Reserve in New York. That's obviously the most important. But there you kind of get overshadowed.
Texas is ripe for this because of the history, as we just talked about it a minute ago.
That's what I'm saying. Hundreds showed up at the next one I promoted with only a day's notice for New York. So I'm saying, my gut tells me San Antonio, Dallas, Houston, how about activists just occupy them all? Ha-ha!
Because it's not efficient, Alex. I mean, if there's one thing I'm trying to bring to your show, it's be efficient. Bring economies of scale. Just be as efficient as possible, because you're dealing with an enemy that has an unlimited credit line that they pay nothing for, and they print trillions of dollars. Therefore, we must be as smart and as efficient as possible.
Okay, I agree with you. I agree with you. But some people can't travel. It's a big state. Now, I'm going to get Tarpley's take on this when you leave us. But what are our list of demands? You know, obviously, we're told it's the Warren Buffett plan of raise taxes on the middle class, pay it in austerity money to foreign banks. That's not the hippie, dupe, useful idiot plan we're going with. What are the demands? Say no to the derivatives bubble, claw back the 16.5 plus 16.6 trillion, cut the defense budget by 50%, pull our troops out of all foreign military bases. I mean, what do we demand to get our country back on a national bond to build maglev trains, light pebble reactors that don't have these safety problems, giant highway projects? What do we do?
There's only one demand. There's only one choice: regime change. You pick somebody, maybe the head of the Dallas Fed, and you're not leaving until they resign. That's the demand. And it's got to happen, and you got to score a win. It worked in Cairo. It worked in Tunis. It works whenever there's a revolution. Whoever's at the head, they have to leave. A regime change. We want that guy out, and we're not leaving until he leaves. This way, everybody knows that they have to stay until that guy leaves. So it's very, very simple. That guy must leave.
Well, I want the abolishment of the Federal Reserve System and to go back to the Congress.
You can't win that. You can't win that with a protest like this, because you're going to end up...
So you're saying we need a symbolic victory to begin more victories?
It's not symbolic. It's a real victory. Nobody wants to give up their cushy Federal Reserve job. You know,
okay, so we say we're going to occupy Federal Reserve areas around the country until Ben Bernanke is indicted or resigns.
Well, again, in my opinion, the one that would work and get traction and have an effect that really is workable is you pick a chair of one of these Fed institutions, like maybe Dallas. We know that Jamie Dimon is both on the Federal Reserve Bank of New York. He's one of the board members, plus he's also the CEO of J.P. Morgan. But, okay, you're not going to go to New York. You're going to be in Texas. And I have a feeling that you're going to get great response in Texas. So of those 3 Federal Reserve banks you have listed, pick one that the people are there and willing to do. Find out who runs it. Then go there, circle it, and say we're not leaving.
No, I agree with you. I'll tell you another really powerful branch is the Kansas City, and we have the footage of Aaron and Rob Jacobson being a half mile away, and they come off security guards with guns and say, leave. And they say no, and they start, putting the hands on the guns. So my guys left to not cause problems. But and then meanwhile, Herman Cain, who used to be the head of that, says, oh, just go say hi to them. Give them a call. They're friendly. Look, folks, don't be intimidated by them. We need to have demonstrations at all Federal Reserves and to call the media before you go, days before. But I'm coming 6:00 p.m., no excuses, to that Dallas Fed. Then I'm going to go to its big Houston branch and then the San Antonio branch. On Sunday. It's all going up to press release in the next few hours at Infowars.com. Max Kaiser, thank you so much for spending time with us. We look forward to speaking to you soon.
All right, buddy.
All right, great having him on. I said I'd take calls, and then I've got the nightly news coming up tonight, and I've got my whole Border Patrol run in. We've now learned it was over 100 miles inside the U.S. It was illegal. They're not supposed to have these, but 100 miles. Now it's over 100. That's coming up tonight. If you're not at PrisonPlanet.tv, remember that supports the show. We're going to Tarpley here in a moment.